Top 10 times movies invaded video games. Hello and welcome back to TV Explosion. Before we start, hit that red subscribe button so that you never miss out on any of our videos. Here are top 10 times movies invaded video games. 1. Final Fantasy VII Advent Children 2005. And finally, Final Fantasy VII, a game that many people, not me, played and loved. I've never played it, so I never incorporated it into the story, and the character seems a bit shallow to me. I've heard that the storyline of this movie only makes sense if you end the game in a particular way. It only appeals to a very small number of people, which greatly limits its potential. But it is an action that saves this movie and makes it the worst. The action in this movie is amazing. It's the best anime-style action, fluid and verbose in every way, and I love all the minutes of it. 2. Silent Hill 2006. Another game I have never played. What sets this movie apart from all the other movies on the list is its atmosphere. The movie itself wasn't that scary, but the atmosphere was so heavy that I almost sneaked into the living room. Unfortunately, the actual content of the movie was overwhelming, so the atmosphere was effective, but it couldn't make up for the movie. Bold attempt and moderately effective. 3. Mortal Kombat 1995. This movie might only be this high because of its sentimental value, but I just remember watching this movie when I was a kid and loving it. The characters were cool, the action was cool, the effects were cool, and it finished on a cliffhanger that promised so much. Seeing some of it again, I can say that I still think that some of the action elements worked, but the characters, really more the actors, were obnoxious and the effects are terrible by today's standards, and the two coolest characters, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, were sadly underplayed. 4. Resident Evil 2002. This movie isn't that bad. For zombie movies, it's pretty effective and some effects last pretty well. But it was taken so seriously in itself that it focused too much on just one scene, and it felt like all the next scenes were adversity. And looking at it again, except Michelle Rodriguez, it became clear that the actions of this movie were terrible. She was cool. 5. Prince of Persia: The Sands of Time 2010. A young fugitive prince and princess must stop a villain who unknowingly threatens to destroy the world with a special dagger that enables the magic sand inside to reverse time. I had pretty high hopes for this movie. It had a good director, a good leading man, and a story that seemed fitting to turn into a movie, and it only turned out decent. 6. Doom 2005. Space Marines are sent to investigate strange events at a research facility on Mars, but find themselves at the mercy of genetically enhanced killing machines. A little like Lara Croft Tomb Raider, this movie only has one good scene where you see the movie from the perspective of the main character, like in the game, but that raises the question that if it is just like the game, why not just play the game? You're bound to get a lot more out of that. That being said, this movie has some value for me as a movie I can watch when I'm hungover, and that is more than I can say for many other video game movies. 7. Warcraft 2016. I have a lot of love for the original RTS franchise, but still never got into WoW. Still, my hopes were quite high for this movie based on the director and the visuals. Unfortunately, the movie played more like someone read the manual from the original aloud. A few good performances and an excellent visual side provide a little entertainment. 8. Lara Croft Tomb Raider 2001. The scene at the beginning of Croft facing off against the giant robot is the only good scene in the movie. You could argue that watching Angelina Jolie run and bouncing. What was I saying? Oh, I think this movie might be better than I remember. 9. Hitman 1 2007. Another example of wasted potential. The Hitman games had so many tense and exciting missions that were just screaming to be put on camera, but the filmmakers decided that there would be none of that. What we got instead of the nail-bitingly tense moments from the game was a run-of-the-mill action movie with some ridiculous elements, such as Agent 47 facing off against 3 other agents with swords he just magically pulls out of his jacket. 10. Final Fantasy: The Spirits Within 2001. So much potential. The Final Fantasy universe has so much potential, and this is what they come up with? I mean, it's not necessarily all that bad, it just has so many distracting elements. First off, its message is painfully obvious and overblown. It's not necessarily a bad message, it has just been seen before and done in a much more subtle way. The voice acting is substandard, and the effects, while impressive, are a bit sterile, and the most annoying thing is that it is boring. Most of the time you will be waiting for something to happen, and honestly, it never really does. That's all for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any amazing video from us.